from your office, would there be anyone from your office who would be taking part in the protests?
Yeah, pretty much everyone I know.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, they go out at lunch, and after work they go out and then literally take part in it. And my friends, they literally been tear gassed by the police because they've been at the front lines.
Hey, what's up? It's your boy Ryan, back with Maturing Cheddar episode 15, giving you those cross-Atlantic viewpoints from the UK and US about this weird and wonderful world that we live in. Don't forget to subscribe to us on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, and follow us on Instagram at Maturing Cheddar. Today, Lewis and I are joined by one of our good friends from our undergraduate days at the University of Bristol, Gavin, who's been working in Hong Kong the last 4 years. We had the special opportunity to catch up with him and find out more about the Hong Kong protests.
I guess from my point of view, obviously having not seen you in ages, I can't believe it's been a year already, but in that year, where you live, a lot has changed. Like, my girlfriend was there, working, as you remember, for free, I think 3 months, and when she was there, and when I was there for 5 days, it was, in inverted quotes, fine, normal, busy, super busy. I mean, I was shocked at how busy it gets during rush hour. I thought London was busy. I mean, that was a different level in the octopus, what do you call it? The octopus network, the tubes.
Octopus hard, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Hong Kong is like one of the most dense population cities in the world. Like, I think Tokyo is also one of them. Hong Kong is up there. Really, really dense city, so many people moving in and out. Yeah, as you said, especially during the rush hour, it's crazy. And if there's any disruptions on the public transport, and then everything's just at a standstill because there's just so many people trying to move around.
Yeah, and that's it. So many people trying to move on, but they make it work, don't they? I mean, I was there just after a typhoon had hit, and man, the city had already been cleaned up. Like, it was already back working within a day or two after the typhoon had hit. I mean, I don't know. It was a pretty serious typhoon, and obviously people got hurt and stuff. But I was really impressed with how quickly they cleaned it up, essentially. My girlfriend was as well. And, Hong Kong people work super hard. But what I want to get in my head is, like, how did it go from that? Because I left, this is October. And then talk me through the kind of timeline since I left to the situation where I'm reading on BBC News, Guardian, all the news channels in Britain, and they've all got an opinion and trying to report on events there. But what I see on TV is protesters clashing with the police and etc., etc. So that's what I see. Tell me what's gone off.
How the situation in Hong Kong all first started is because the leader of Hong Kong, Carrie Lam, she tried to introduce this extradition bill. So what this bill allows is that they can extradite people to mainland China. So Hong Kong people, they were really scared because, like, they can just extradite people for, I don't know, for whatever reason to mainland China, and then you'd get done in China for whatever it is. But why is this a problem? It's because in China, you probably wouldn't get a fair trial. Mainland China, they just have their own laws. Once the leader of Hong Kong tried to introduce this bill, people immediately just protested to try to stop this bill.
The leader of Hong Kong decided that China could basically extradite people back to China. But what was her reason for passing this bill, because surely her position is to protect the people of Hong Kong. This is kind of almost showing a sign of weakness, like giving up to the more powerful, like, kind of Chinese government.
I think how this all started was because there was a Hong Kong guy who went to holiday to Taiwan with his girlfriend, and then the girl was like murdered or something, and so but then the guy came back to Hong Kong, and then I don't know the exact details, but the guy like got free because he wasn't in Taiwan anymore, so it was like not part of their jurisdiction, and so that's why the leader thought, if you could have the power to extradite someone to a foreign country, and then to prevent something like this happening again, because if the guy just come back to Hong Kong and then he can get away with murder or something like that. So I think that's how it all started. But then people thought, okay, if you can do that, but then even though I guess for that particular case it makes sense, but then if mainland China, because it's actually not uncommon, because what previously happened was like some artists or some journalists, they wrote something bad about China, and then suddenly they disappear from Hong Kong. I think people like captured him, and then they took him back to Hong Kong. Took him back to mainland China, and then he was like held there for, I don't know, for whatever reason, and then he was like he was like captured by China because he wrote something bad, or the artist drew something bad about China, and China doesn't like anything, doesn't like people saying anything bad about China, so they will just use their power to do these kinds of things. So that this is why Hong Kong people really fear this is why really Hong Kong people are really against this bill.
So what's her name again? Carrie Lam.
Carrie Lam, yes.
Yeah, and could you just give me a brief timeline of like her? So when was she voted in? When did she like pass this bill or try to pass this bill? And like, what's happening with her now? Is she still in power?
So Carrie Lam, she came into power in 2017, and she tried to introduce this extradition bill in June of this year, so June 2019. And what's happened since then is that people have been protesting against this bill, but she didn't really take any action, didn't. So that's why Hong Kong people feel like she's not really listening to the Hong Kong people, and she's more actually answering to Beijing, because she just didn't really do anything. Yeah, so there's been ongoing process. So it's been going on for months and months, and nothing has happened. And at the time, the situation was already really bad. People thought, "Oh, this is like the worst process in Hong Kong," but nothing has happened. But the question is, like, why hasn't she done anything? Why hasn't she withdrawn this bill? Is it because Beijing is, is it because Beijing is the one who's controlling her and not allowing her to withdraw this bill? Like, so these were the questions that people were asking at the time. So, so who's really in control? Is Carrie Lam really the leader of Hong Kong, or is she really, just a puppet of China, like answering to China? So she can't, she doesn't have the autonomy. I mean, she doesn't have the power to withdraw the bill, because she has to get Beijing's permission, and obviously Beijing doesn't. Beijing wants this extradition bill to go through, because anyone who says anything bad about China can be extradited to China and then taken care of. So these protests has been going on for months and months and months. So since June. So how many months is that now? So 5 or 6 months now. And people are asking her to resign, but she wouldn't resign. And again, why isn't she resigning? Because the situation is so bad right now. Is it because China is not letting her resign? She has to clean up this mess because China is asking her to clean up this mess before she can resign. So again, like who's really in control of Hong Kong?
So how bad are the protests? If you think about like kind of day-to-day life, I know we were talking about it a bit earlier, but for the listeners, how is it impacting everyone's life in Hong Kong?
So it's a mix. So there's a mix of at first there's been a lot of peaceful protests. So people just protesting on the streets, and these were. So I think if you organise protests, you have to get like approval. So these were like approved by the police. You're allowed to take to the streets and protest. And these were going on for the first few months. But again, the leader of Hong Kong is just like not really listening and not taking any action and not responding to the protests. So I think some people have then just turned to violent protest and like starting to block roads, cause like trouble in Hong Kong. And this is how the clashes with police have started, because people are just taking matters kind of into their own hands and turning to violence. And then the Hong Kong police, they're like using questionable tactics against the protesters. Like they're using a lot of tear gas and excessive force, like just attacking the protesters. Like you would think that the police would be there to protect the Hong Kong people again. You would think the leader of Hong Kong would be there to listen to the Hong Kong people, and the police would be there to protect Hong Kong people. But from the videos that you can see online, it's like the police are, they just look like they're just attacking Hong Kong people. I saw videos of the police just attacking people who are walking by, like the videos, old people, elderly, young, pregnant women, and even like some foreign people. They're just walking by, and then the police just attack them and spray them with like pepper spray. It's just
Are the police
Really?
Yeah, I'm not kidding. Like pregnant women, they're just like taking them down and then like spraying them with pepper spray. Elderly people, they're literally just standing there. They're not causing any trouble. They're not attacking the police officers, and they just spray them in the face, like literally right in front of you. Spray you in the face with pepper spray, like in the eyes.
Has anyone died yet?
There was a death last month. So because the police were firing tear gas to try to clear out the protesters, and then I think one guy, he like fell from the building and like trying to get away, and he died. And yeah, it's just caused even more chaos. And
So I was just reading. So Hong Kong, they formally scrapped the extradition bill at the end of October.
yes.
And so how come people are still protesting?
Yeah, so the withdrawal bill was only one part of the process. So it's not like, okay, we're not going to extradite people to mainland China and now everything's okay and everything's back to normal, right? Because as I said, the fear of China is still there. So, Hong Kong is like the people of Hong Kong, they have like 5 demands. So the first one is to like withdraw the extradition bill. The second is like asking the leader of Hong Kong to resign. Another one is to like, they want an independent inquiry into the actions of the police, because the actions of the police is it's been questionable, like using excessive force and attacking innocent people. They're not really protecting Hong Kong civilians. So we want Hong Kong people want independent inquiry into the actions of police, which the police have continuously denied that they've used like excessive force, and also the Hong Kong government have been like backing the police, like saying that that they're using like nothing that they've done is like inappropriate, which most Hong Kong people would disagree with.
Why does it make people from Hong Kong so mad when people say this is just a riot, not a protest?
Okay, so why Hong Kong people don't want to be called rioters is because they're really protesting for they really are just protesting for their own right and for their own freedom, and they just want the Hong Kong government to listen to their voices. That they are protesting peacefully at first, but they're just not listening, and this is why it has turned really violent, because nothing is working. So they're protesting peacefully and they're not listening. So and now they're clashing with the police daily and being categorized as rioters, whereas actually police themselves are actually using excessive force and using like police brutality, like abuse of their powers in some ways.
See, that nothing's really happening, and the protesters are getting more and more agitated. Now, a very small group of those protesters are turning to violence, I think, and it's not.
Yes.
It's not a large group turning to violence. How what would, in your position, from where you sit, how would that be resolved? How would not using violence, without violence, how would this get resolved? Or would one side have to back down eventually? Essentially, would what? How would you see it being resolved in the best possible?
Yeah, this is exactly why these protests has been going on for so many months, so 5 or 6 months now, because neither side is backing down. The people of Hong Kong are fighting for their freedom, and the Hong Kong government isn't taking any action because they don't want to, because if they back down to the protesters, then the Hong Kong government would be, they'll have a bad image. They have a bad image to Beijing, because the government backing down to the Hong Kong people, and then it looks like they have no power, and China doesn't want that, right? So so every day Hong Kong people protest on the streets, and then they fight with the police, and then the police use they use using their power to control the protests, and then the Hong Kong protesters, they're shown in the media as rioters, and then it makes Hong Kong people even more angry, and then the cycle just repeats. And so this is why I don't think this situation is gonna get any better anytime soon.
So what do you see as a solution? Because it seems like neither side is going to back down. So where are you going to be in 1 year from now?
Yeah, it just all comes down to the question of, so who's really in power? Is Hong Kong government in power, or is it China? So if Hong Kong government is in power, then why aren't they listening to the Hong Kong people? You're the Hong Kong government. You're supposed to be acting in the best interest of the Hong Kong population, but you're not listening to them. So does this mean that China's in power? So you're answering to China. So you're acting in the best interest of China. So so either China do something about it, or the Hong Kong government listen to the Hong Kong people.
But either one looks like it would have a knock-on effect, right? So if Hong Kong government listens to the Hong Kong people, then, like as you were saying, surely China would retaliate and punish the Hong Kong government, or Hong Kong itself, probably.
Yeah.
And then vice versa, if Hong Kong government government didn't support its people, eventually just to deal with the people, maybe military action, military intervention to control the protesters and really get them to stand down. I'm not sure. It didn't look like it has like you said, it's not going to end for a while if it remains as it is in a little bit of a stalemate. But it doesn't look like it's going to have a happy ending either, from where I'm sat.
Yeah, it just doesn't look good for Hong Kong right now, and especially Hong Kong. Has long had its status as Asia's main financial hub. It's actually really under threat right now because businesses want to pull out of Hong Kong, and Hong Kong it kind of relies on its financial services sector to thrive, and Hong Kong GDP has I think in the last quarter has turned negative, and it's quite likely to go into a recession if it continues, because businesses is not doing good. Tourism has worsened, and just on a daily basis, businesses trying to operate is quite difficult because the transport. So the main Hong Kong. So you've been to Hong Kong,
Yep.
everyone relies on the MTR and the bus.
Excellent. It's an excellent system.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's actually, it's been struggling to operate, normally because there's just been so many disruptions. MTR stations are being closed. Several train lines have been so services on train lines has been suspended due to the protests. People can't get in and out to work. On weekends, everyone has to stay at home because just it's not safe to go out, and there's no train or bus service, and so even if it's not tourism, it's just normal daily businesses have been really badly affected. The media, they make it out as if it's only young people, so you're uni students and people who just came out of uni. But actually, a lot of adults actually take part. So professional people like accountants and people who have decent jobs like accountants, bankers, they also take protest in the streets, take to the streets at lunch, supporting all these young. So yeah, supporting all the young.
That was going to be my question, actually. One of my questions, what percentage would you say? So, if you we're not going to talk about the podcast where you work, just in case. But from your office, would there be anyone from your office who would be taking part in the protests?
Yeah, pretty much everyone I know.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, they go out at lunch, and after work they go out and then. Yeah, literally take part in it. And my friends, they literally been tear gassed by the police because they've been at the front lines. Yeah, wow. So people actually they are really serious about it. It's not it's not a joke. It's not for fun. They literally are fighting for what they believe in.
That's it, and that's the only way. I guess I'm starting to see that, when you say stuff like that, friends, people, it makes it a bit more real. Starting to see how serious it is, because put myself in my own, just where I sit, like I said just a minute ago, there's people in Parliament that we elect who do a lot of fighting with words on our behalf.
Yeah,
and that's what a brilliant privileged system we're fortunate to live in Britain, and it seems like that system, what little bit of that system you had in Hong Kong is basically failing right now. Where the government should be listening to its people, it's not, and there's no debate, there's no discussion. It's literally totalitarian rule. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think you summed pretty well there with that last point, I think.
As I said, like Hong Kong has this one country and two systems. That's how Hong Kong works. It's like the one country of China and two systems, so separate from China. It has its own system, but now the whole system is like under question because, you know, is it really one country, two systems, or is it one country and one system? And if that's under threat, then the whole, you know, attractiveness of Hong Kong to foreign businesses is also under threat.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of Maturing Cheddar on the Hong Kong protests. Don't forget to subscribe to us on Spotify, iTunes or YouTube. See you guys next week.